Okay. Today's video is on consensuality. Namdi, this is very important to clear up a bit. So let me get my notes. Okay, someone. Okay. Um, Everything in my constitution should be half the time. Should take half the time. That's the goal. Take half the time. Nuclear hardware system. Basically the computers of nuclear OS is literally hardware, but it's sensory hardware. So it's sensory infrastructure as architecture. So basically, it basically works on your kind of a sense. Human rights sensory infrastructure. So if it breaks, it's not good for a human. It breaks because it was something for Venom. It's about building an open sense framework. GitHub.com versus open access. Open sense dash framework. You get an open motor, like motor control, like a blade control with a multi-neuron framework. You're gonna have updates. So you're gonna have human rights issues, no human rights issue with the computer per se. You're gonna get laptops, so laptops are also computers. We're gonna have between human rights. You're gonna have the QWERTY keyboard, of course, quality. We're gonna have things can interact with it, like 8 times 8. Get because I have 8 human rights. I have 8 times 8. So so there's my eyes, my ears, my ears, my nose, my mouth, and taste. My skin can touch 5 plus 5 minimum. 2 human rights, 5 times 5, 25, 25 plus 10 is 35 minimum. Now I'm tripolar, so that scales the maximum of 5 times 5 to the power of 3 for Uche, not Eze and Obi. 25 to get 25, get 25 human rights, so 25 to the power of 3, sorry guys. 35 times 35 times 35, 35 times 35, 35 times 3, so 105 human rights I have in the framework of open space. But human side dynamic, just close that first. So the human rights are uh, but today I'm still in the board unit, but I just gotta do this properly because I'm going to Nigeria. I have to my PhD. Basically, I'm just going to PhD in the UK so I can have something that holds forever in the UK. So back to the quota, 105 human rights, 105 human rights. Based on Uche, Eze, and Obi, of us going for Bravo Artifical, will be Nexus. You're going to heart connections. You're going to have Uche, Eze, and Eze means king. You know, you say it, Eze. Eze, 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 your turn. Eze is now king. Um, uh, let's have a word, then Uche acknowledge, this thing is very important to understand for consensuality. But coming to talk to that more formally now. So you have policies. How you have a tap in very policy. Nuclear holographic system. Everything has a holographic interface. Everything like a tablet, like a digital tablet, small have must have a projection of a holographic system. You must have a holographic system, in place. Basically, you must be able to manipulate light, but it's not basically not. It's a sensory device for light, but it's not for light per se. Basically, the holographic project with a holographic reality. It's a reality that's real to you, it's true to you. So you can do this half the time and use half the space. So you can actually think. So there'll be protection above you. So I'm not saying it because of my human rights. So I mean, it's going to be done, but it's going to be done because I'm making it, properly for my human rights. So, so this is anyone else saying it. All nationwide today. Yeah, pathway plan. Yeah, versus yes. Women and children should have women and children. Boys and girls should have their own things separately. Doesn't matter what you're into. If you get your own thing, for example, your own space and your own belonging. Doesn't matter where you are. Those that have something you are authentically expressing. So you can have women's clothes different. Pandoras, I wish I call Pandoras because those have real women. Pandoras and children. But I want it to build it for you first. So I'm gonna have magazines for women, like articles for women magazines for men, separate men. If you really do what you want, you just they are tailored to women. Like women's magazine, represent children's magazines, and girls' magazines. They all need that. So don't necessarily that's true for some. So everyone have their own magnetic kind of thing, you know. But doesn't matter. Basically, you can have heterogeneous heterogeneous model. You can actually mix the stuff, you know. You got to study a section. That'll be like a third of a section for mixing finding things you like to be authentic, you know. So you can especially magazines, you know. Find but then you know, be organized. So there's a very positive there. Currently, Pandora to that craft. Basically, I want to live forever. So this is very important. Basically, this was basically on the artificial gestation system. But basically, and seeking updates and server SSR iPhone control iPhone. So it's basically human rights framework for encoding or sparse encoding. So using a module of artificial intelligence system. The Obi, me, my heart and soul to live forever. Because I've never lived, I've never touched the ground. So normally when I wake up, I'm floating on the ground, Obi's floating. He floats. He floats to just float over the ground. He doesn't want to be in the UK. He doesn't want to be, he wants to fly to Nigeria, but I've grounded him. He's on the floor down there. He literally just stepped on the floor, he's literally on the floor, and I was like, oh, it's not so bad. And I started to take his first steps, because, we have to be thoroughly trying to step, Eze and Obi are not kings. So, because Eze, Obi is literally the heart and soul of Obi exists. So this is not the ground something wrong in the frame of Obi. So he's just a ground so he can concentrate on doing the PhD. And, his legs, to just his feet here, his feet, my feet touch the ground. But physically, in the mental state, of the world, I had to just ground myself, because this felt a bit too real. That was this kind of but I was trying to fly back to Nigeria. Definitely got this me here, but OBI, offers go before I mean, it's just the ground. You have to touch down. You have to touch down. So that's what I said. That's what Eddie said. Oh, there's also something to me in my head, but it's so real. We have touchdown. So I touched the ground. It wasn't timber. This wasn't timber. But my persona, my essay is king. So essay is leader. So the secret place go based for persona and essay. So essay is literally king of the. Well, if you go to CW CMD underscore control, there's a file there on my TikTok or YouTube channel back on this command replay. So it's a relay system for command and control. But you gotta work with the relay, so relay attack. So it's gonna be replaying the system state. That's what really extends it, just a replay. So if you don't know that, you know that now. Replay text was like kind of you have a tape replay, so you have like a video file, it's like you use the SD card or like this is a Polaroid image, and you put the filter. So you gotta have the Polaroid camera. You're gonna have a Polaroid, but the Polaroid is basically a disk. So it has to load from memory. So it kind of reminds me of loading from memory. This is what it is. If you have a Polaroid film, what you have to load in the next step, you have frames, like 60 frames per second or like 30 frames per second, beginning of storage. So this is a graphics projection system from microverse. So I'll come up to that later. I'll come up to that later. But it's gonna be done properly. I'm doing it. I'm doing the building. So so you're gonna have the sensory preservation system for the graphics system. You're gonna have a laptop. So basically, a laptop should couple graphics system. Basically, it's very possible. It's only a laptop and above and smaller. It's kind of smaller as a laptop. Mobile internet should have a graphics interface. Have a hologram, have a projection. People is gonna be, space can, you got train track, train track and flow. Project the train track from the bottom to the second floor. You're gonna do it in 3 layers. So you're gonna have foreground, midground, and background. But you're gonna have this as gaps. So you're gonna have this as so basically you have foreground, midground, and background. You're gonna have as you're gonna have them as depth. You're gonna have the depth, the depth of the depth of the depth of the. You're gonna have 3 layers of every second depth. So you have foreground and background. You have depth of the one. So you're gonna have kind of 6 slices of reality to have a projection. Also, so you're gonna have a project like a foreground and background, but in there like midground elevation. This is an elevation. So this is called an elevation plan, elevation planning. Elevation planning, but I'm doing my elevation planning I'm doing it as a holographic. So you can project an image. This is what I'm holding in front of it, like an apple. You must see the apple, and we construct it as a projection. So that has to go with some. You use camera. So basically, you don't have the Polaroid model. So the Polaroid model is what I'm using. Because Polaroid cameras are just the protection of the protect it in smaller quantities. So you have to actually stare at it for longer to see it. So it was sometimes kind of the 3D glasses of the 3D glasses of look at 3D glasses. Some Polaroids do 3D glasses of well, you don't want to see the glass, you want to see it. So this is a micro. So it's gonna work practically. Hopefully it's sound, but for now we're just gonna leave it out. We're just what I'm saying. We're gonna so you're gonna have foreground, background, and background. You're gonna have the front, back, front. You're gonna have the front, midground, and background. You're gonna be staring at this and continuously on one axis. So you see the 6 dimensions, 6 planes of distance. You're gonna have 3 plus 3, 3 layers of axis. 3 plus 3 equals 6. Observability, observability at the time. This one is an apple being projected. You're gonna have a diagram. You're gonna have a fisheye lens. So you can take the fisheye lens. You can have a fisheye lens of but depending on how you see it, you can project up people you angle simply. You gotta have a fisheye diagram. So let's put a fisheye diagram, fisheye diagram. So you can see how this projected in time. So this is really when the draft plan looks. So today's video update. I was update on it. So a lot of this is usually basically we can live forever. So I actually put myself into fragile space time. So I can live forever. That's what me as a OBI do. And each do. We try to encode ourselves. Well, this is still a encoding system. So I'm going to try to formally. But let's see what we can work with that. So to live forever, you must encode yourself into the fabric of space time. Literally, you have to encode yourself. You cannot have one way for your consciousness, your way of being you. So people are doing this too, but I'm trying to have our own position for the system. So no matter who you are, you never die. So you need to know that. So how this works mathematically, speaking, you're gonna have some sort of coding, some sort of codec. But this codec is consensus bound. So you have consensus. So you have a permission. A permission is like true or false, like yes or no. Do you give me permission to do something for you? Do you give me permission to send do you give me permission for activity? No, yes or no? Permission. Do you give me permission to take to have a? Can I give permission to go to the bathroom for after lunch? Yes or no? Which is no issue around, which we should know, which didn't give your permission. Can I give raise your hand? Can I ask a question about when you raise your hand, you're giving permission using a signal, so the signal. So your hands like in the classroom. Hey, I'm raising my hand. I want to go to the bathroom. That kind of thing I hate. Just go to the bathroom. Don't shoot in the classroom. No. Obviously, to the bathroom, any chance you're allowed to go to the bathroom anywhere to participate in the model, without raising your hand, just walk out and come back. You don't come back, race around, but when you raise your hand, you need to go to the bathroom. So raise your hand for the bathroom, you go. That's what you go do. No further question, none of that. This is what you teach, which is perfectly. So you're gonna have consistency organization. So you have permission, you're gonna have consent. So permission and you have consent. So basically the way to use consent system. Okay, so permission is a want. You want permission, or you want permission. You don't need permission, you want to permit yourself to do something. You want to get a high authority notice or something. You want to get something done on your own time, but you're going to need some clarification. That's what permission is about. You're gonna have consent. Consent is basically relationship with independent. You're gonna have a sexual consent. Consent to what? Consent to what? Basically, we know white British pornography. I should know none of that, none of the white kind of. I don't see white person again. But basically, things that come from the West as pornography content is not banned, but it's archived, so we can encode it as environment. If I don't want that in my system, which didn't even help me. I don't know, my kid, I don't need it when so and if you couldn't look no problem because everyone has kids. I don't want kids here. And then look at I need 4 wives, you want 4 wives, or 4 husbands if you're around for you can manage yourself. But that's the whole policy disrespect. So So the kind of thing is, we have an invariant encoding. Invariant encoding sustains the effect. So encoding happiness into encoding suffering because you seek out suffering, not happiness. If people are happy, then the outcome is suffering. If they're suffering, the outcome is happy. So the outcome is suffering. We need to approve of suffer. So he holds the suffering, holding the suffering for you. So you do when you're hungry, it gives you fear. You don't suffer anymore. So that's the simple process. Human rights protocol for like a sparse river of modeling. So you're gonna have that system there environment. So you're gonna be able to do something you want to do. You can do what you want to do without you being hungry. So you see, with suffering is basically the goal of jealousy, anger, anything has to code, everything has to code. Consent means as two. Consent is bipartite. Consent is basically bipartite. Consent basically means do you want sex? Yes, between two parties, yes or no? Yes and no. No and yes. One is success. Do you want sex? Do you consent? It doesn't matter how cool you are, as long as that person says yes, then this one with it, and there's no problem with it. Sex is basically consensual, but it's basically between two people. That's makes you consent. So you need two authorities to make one thing. Usually it's symbiotic. It's a symbiotic relationship, like seaweed and plankton. Seaweed and plankton. Fox and badger. Eagle and fox. Eagle and wolves. Eagle and wolves. From it's actually start. So that's bypass a man and woman, girl and boy, LGBTQ. Yeah, so it's basically like that. But the fact of the matter is, consent is not consensus. You don't understand it's not consensus. Because it's just one person, so one new so this consensus relationship we live in, because you don't have to process. You need space. I need space. Doesn't matter where I am. I need a space. This good space time. This place. This more. This place is more. There's the sign of space. I can go back and forth. I can go back and forth. This space is consensual. It allows you to move freely. You're not feeling back and forth, moving forward and back and forth. It's just a space. This is not where I go. This is what's holding me. Yes, because holding me. This is the idea of being. But still consensual. How does it go right now? How does it go right now? Well, it's consensual. Well, I don't need to really live a part to hold for me. It just holds like something. I don't know. We'll go tomorrow. Yeah, no, I'm not facing. I'm not so this is I'm sure constitution. So basically, the thing I'm trying to have a consensus encoded for the artificial gestation system. Basically, if you don't know what it is, it's basically gonna have you have babies in a kind of a pod. Basically, it's a pod. Basically, you have a procedure which is IVF, it's an ICP. ICP or ICP it's not a chamber, it's a in vitro pod. It's basically gonna make babies in a pod. So the pod can be double the baby space of our biggest babies. We have actually big babies. Usually can double the baby space. Because no, double and a half of the baby space. Because gonna have some room to enter. So that has to be, so you're gonna be double space. The pod then you have the space at the time because you are born in space. In space, they need that space. That's consensual space. You don't find that space. A man needs the time, so you have the time for the baby to enter the develop. It's not the XY chromosome. XY chromosome, male, operates in time. They're born in time, and time is the resource they use, and space is a resource. So if you think of them as all people, auxiliary inputs of O of N, like a big old nutrition. The worst case, the worst time you have a woman. The worst time you have a woman. If you have a woman, something went wrong in the process of the forward. So the forward encoding, the CD encoding of the artificial system pod ensures like babies put in there can come out always. You have 2 points of entry, A and B. So you don't put the baby in with one way. You have to you have a pod that gives you a space pod. You have someone puts a pod in here, put the baby in the pod, put the development system in the pod, and the pod will be in the baby, and it will drop in. The pod is elastic, so it's an elastic pod. So it's meant to stretch out like a womb. So like a little slab. So it's gonna be nice and good. The code is like Adam. So you're gonna have the pod. It's like a system. But the coding is what consensual. I'm just use one authority to do one system to encode it for you. This is the filter flash encoding model. So filter means sorted, flash means storing. So you can store via computer from so if like a gum, there's some item gum, my JT structure of the gum is you can always grow that type of gum, you can grow that from big with that gum. So basically I'm trying to take my gum, my saliva, my gum, and use it as a grow some without nucleus. So that's good. So you're gonna have slide out you're gonna use something that has its own nucleus. So that's the baby. And my gum symbolizes. I'm gonna cut my gum off. I'm gonna tell you that also. My gum has enamel. Enamel is what protects my gum. So I'm protecting my gum with enamel. Enamel. But that's enamel in toothpaste. So basically, you're gonna have that enamel protecting my gum, and that gum is gonna be growing teeth. And that's how it was. So this matter when I'm having my skin, something must allow me to grow. So that's when it's encoded in version. So it's protecting the skin has natural protection too. So I'm saying to you, the skin has UV light, UV ray protection, ultraviolet rays for cancer cells. So you can encode that into genetically into the soil. And that soil really means skin cells of the single. This is what a cocoa does, and that's born in the time. You have two entries. You're gonna have one entry on top and one entry on the side. Well, one of them is sort of one of them is angular entries. One entry in the start and one in the side. So you're gonna have put your baby down. Put something down. It's like a baby model. You're gonna need to enter the pod. Basically, you're gonna have like a biology. You're gonna have like sort of space for the world. This is the whole world inside the pod. You're gonna have germs, not germs. You're gonna germs. You're gonna have the various objects. What causes it? You're gonna have protection too for the baby. So you can develop like the growing sort of plant. But you're going to have them, understand? So anyone that has a miscarriage, and to consider one of the world, them or two of them, can use the artificial intelligence system. I want to use it, but see what it looks like, I don't want to have a sex, so I want to have anyone that foster care, that the mom and dad died, something like that, and having family grief reasons in the family, use the artificial intelligence. Because I'm nice because I need to find out whether this is practical or not. But I am nice now, so just give a chance of life. So you're supposed to have someone, some a baby who will be born into the spot and grow out into a system of grow out so the pod will be like gestation. So how you can grow any plant you want. So normally it takes the red soil. You're gonna have the red soil. Red soil. So you're gonna have red soil. You're gonna have red soil in the pod, and that will be the soil in Lagos and Nigeria. And that was very good for plant. So the first trial is the balance of the plant and to have a gestation. My first experiment to kind of get a plant that grows in one area if I seek a potential symbiotic relationship to basically something with a symbiotic relationship like a plant not to gecko, like a gecko, but not gecko per se. Getting gecko's tail. I will roll a tail from a gecko, then a whole gecko from a gecko, but give it a consistency. What you can do is I can go gecko, by its tail, so someone find a tail of a gecko and we go the genetic structure of it. So we can encode that first and have a gecko, gecko. But that gecko will be born in a pod. And that pod is really born in time for the males and born in space. Because these are auxiliaries, this is like again worst case, best case analysis of auxiliary structures. So you understand that the system must ensure that this encoded system will go to tail and can fall off, has the person, But if I wanted to, usually get to AS squared splice dash spline. So basically, this is CRISPR, but splicer. So splicing is basically the gene structure. Splicing works on gene splicing. So you don't work on you don't do these splicing. Because it's a programming term, splicing is basically working on subset of substrate of data. Because heterogeneous homogeneity is kind of hard to process, even for computer system research. This matter when you're using some of computer research as well. Heterogeneous data computational algorithms are kind of infeasible to compute over a set final state of structure and a final sequence of structure. This one always still sort of expand. They grow, sorry, they expand. What about the polynomial, the quadratic polynomial? Basically, the bipolar of the trinomial. So the trinomial and the quadratic polynomial, they means you have to square it up. Square term. The square term goes by 4 to 4. So that's what generators do. But because to have them into consideration and coded as a bipolar space, you're gonna have this here, I'm just gonna modify the system. You're gonna have a pod, and the pod you're gonna have again. You're gonna either put it, so you're gonna put it from the side. So you're gonna put it to the side. You're gonna have a slide with you. You're gonna also put it from the top. You're gonna have 2/3 of the space at the top, 2/3 to do the light instead of wall. You're gonna have something come on the side. Obviously, on the right side, so on your left side, so the point is going to be on the left side. It's always just the side note is going to be on the left, so it's going to be on the left side. It's going to be a curve. It's going to be everything's going to be a bubble. So it's going to have an entry point on the left and an entry point on the top. You're going to be allowed to put some no chemicals in the ground. You can't look the baby in. It's only just an emergency point. You put it in space. You put it in space. So the point is going to be like a skate pod. But it doesn't matter where it goes. It's elastic. So it stretches and bounces, allows life to germinate. So this is germination philosophy for the system. But this is why when you coding it, per se, you must preserve that structure, in it, so you get better soil, that is fertilized better one. This one you put it in, the tail is like a predator thing. So, you can grow good, you can have something that's symbiotic, it's like a plant. Some kind of algae. Because algae is symbiotic when they don't know. So basically, algae is like algae symbiotic life. If I continue that symbiotic life, so algae is like seaweed. So algae and seaweed are symbiotic because algae is not so seaweed is symbiotic because it comes from algae. But seaweed is the cause of algae. So algae is symbiotic. So algae can work with anything because it controls a lot of minerals. But the minerals of seaweed are different. They're different. You're gonna have seaweed. So you have something like seaweed come out of this, and we have algae in it. Because you're gonna have a consistency. So you can use it to encode some kind of structure into the system itself. So it knows that this system is correct. This is why I need to do it now. But by knowing it, it doesn't have to process it. It just has to research the resource. So the system gets some benefits too, and we get some benefits too. So basically about the computer, I'm changing structure. The whole particular Earth isn't polluted. It's actually gonna be beneficial for our own reality, for our own sake, because you're gonna have some kind of symbiotic, like when we had water, we had oxygen, microbes in oxygen form microbes and microbes in water generally as oxygen. They come with with oxygen, give us plants, the plants, plant action. That's the thing that we see right now. But we're seeing that something else that that has to go. You go to have this kind of unusual system in the river for the babies who children are born here. There's no difference to die again. There's no difference because I'm nice, but I've seen kind of injustice, so I know what I'm talking about. If I don't say just kind of go to something. The next is going to be on gun security. Basically making your own guns. So, I'm gonna try to make my own gun. That's going to be so today's date is the 16th of February 2026. My name is Namdi, OB Nexus. Oh yes, one more thing. Refer to OBI Nexus. First of them, me, OB Nexus, everyone's gonna have Mr. OB Nexus. So that's a type you can say I am Mr. OB Nexus or Mrs. OB Nexus. If you live if you're born and live in Gestation, automatically if you're born there and you live there, you're bear from, if you're born there and you live there, you're gonna have born there, breathe there, live there, you can say your title if you're in the Gestation itself, with the area because you're gonna have born Mr. OB Nexus. You know you're part of OB Nexus, but we're a business and a constitutional model. So the title basically gives you a persona, the title to acknowledge your title. Basically, that's what we do for everyone here. My own utopia, you're my own lawsuit. More litigation, but we're litigation, so we're using service and human rights service. So for advocacy, so it's basically not retaliation per se, but it's litigation. Because I'm building based on film freedom. Kind of some blood, crime, bleeding, sweat, etc. So no child has to be poor, dying, wear rubbish clothes. So fashion is a big problem. But everyone should have a fashion. Basically, it should be a way to do it properly. But I was listening to go to, so I'm going to do to sort of fashion issues too for war issues. I think about the reason about human reticle reasoning rationale framework. Thank you for watching this video.